sure.
Hi, my name is Edmond, and this is Kaleidoscope, an educational podcast hosted by me and my friends Cintia and Josh. Our podcast is sort of a one stop shop for all of your career advice questions, answered with the help of industry insiders. We present you with a broad spectrum of professions with as many perspectives through the personal testimonies as the color of the kaleidoscope. So yeah, and we're here with Aqib today, and it's very nice to meet you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where you come from? What are you
Sure.
doing?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me for this podcast, and I'm really happy to be here. As you mentioned, my name is Aqib, and right now I'm working in Rotterdam. I am basically from Pakistan. I have done my bachelor's in computer science back in 2013. So I completed my bachelor's in 2015, end of 2015. And since then I was working with different companies. I was being the part of one of 100 fortune companies, I would say. I have spent almost 3 years in my home country, and then I was being contacted by one of the company named EPAM, and they wanted to hire me for Hungary. And Before that, just before I decided to move Hungary, I was never been outside from my city, so my overall exposure was quite I would say low. But I knew Hungary because of one of my favorite movie named Mission Impossible 4, and they they mentioned Budapest in in the start of the movie, and I was that time I was like, I really want to visit that place. Unfortunately, my first exposure was not with the Budapest. I was hired in Saget, so I moved there. But exactly after 3 months, I requested my country to move me to Budapest. So overall, it was a great experience. Yeah, that's a basic background, basic introduction.
That's amazing. I lived in Pakistan actually for a year. I just want to say, yeah, I know you come from Lahore, and I visited
Yeah.
it. It's beautiful, beautiful. It's
Oh, I'm very happy to know that. Do you tasted our food?
yeah, of course, man. Like beautiful,
Yeah,
splendid food,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah,
such a
yeah.
beautiful country. Lahore is beautiful, beautiful. Like yeah.
It's quite crowded,
Mhm.
I would say, but yeah, our food is good. What is your favorite food, by the way, from
From Pakistan. It
yeah,
was a long time ago. I was
uh,
10, but the bread's called chapati, right? Yeah, yeah.
yes,
That
yes,
was
chapati.
my go-to. Really loved chapati.
Yeah, we're quite popular with the biryani and
Yeah.
korma. So I really love biryani.
Hmm.
This is one of the favorite thing you can taste in Pakistan. So
Yeah, no, beautiful, beautiful place. Before we go into like more serious questions, the way we wanted to do it was to ask sort of 10 very simple questions that can be answered with like one or like a few words, and they're just very very simple, just to get into the flow of things.
And get to know you as a person.
Yeah, yeah, that as well.
sure.
So yeah, we're gonna get on to that. So the first question is: would you rather on the holidays? Would you rather go to the beach or go sightseeing?
I would prefer beach. And recently I experienced Den Haag beach. It was amazing. So I really like that place, especially when the people are doing kiting and everything. It's a sunny day, a bit of sunny day, because the biggest thing you're going to miss if you're living in Netherlands is sun. Actually, it's a very rainy place, I would say. So this will be my preference.
Nice. Do you have yeah? What are your favorite books or movies? Obviously, we've already heard about your love of Mission Impossible 4, but
Yeah.
another favorite book or movie.
With the books, I would say I usually, because I'm a technical person, I usually spend my time to solving complex algorithms. When I was kid, for example, most of my interest was with mathematics. I was good in mathematics, so that's when I moved to IT. I really like to solve these data structure problems, and usually on weekend I'm participating in those things. If you ask me about movies, one of my favorite is Harry Potter. You're going to laugh on it, but that's a,
It's absolutely fascinating.
every year I watch those series once. um, and there are many more, but maybe there's a movie named The Eternal Sunshine of My Spotless Mind. Maybe you're familiar with that. It's a Jim Carrey movie. That's also one of my favorite ones. Yeah. It's sort of
Alright.
tough
We'll
story.
check it
Yeah.
out though.
It's on the list
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it's on the list now. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
I'm not a big fan of ice creams, but I think chocolate is the one which I'm going to choose. Yeah.
What would be your favorite country to visit?
Um, I think I traveled a couple of places. I really want to visit once to Barcelona, Spain. But so far there are Budapest was awesome, honestly, especially Parliament. I used to live near Parliament, and that's the best place I would say. If you want to party, if you want to see people around you, that's a good place to visit. But if you're a fan of, for example, skyscrapers, I think Rotterdam is also a good place to visit.
Nice. And what's your favorite song? I know it's hard, favorite song, but one of your favorite songs at least.
Actually, I'm totally. I mean, I usually don't listen music, but my favorite is it's more likely a traditional one, the old one. We used to have there's a type of music, and one is called Qawwali. That's you're going to find it in Pakistan and India. And my favorite is Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. That's NFAK. This is the short form of that man name. He's no more actually. When we was kid, he died that time, and he was a legend. If you go back to 90s, so that's more likely old music, Indian and Pakistani music.
Nice. So if you were stranded on an island, what are 3 things you would take?
Internet, my laptop, and some stuff, fitness stuff like gym stuff. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, we were talking about that before we had you on the podcast, what you would bring, and we did guess laptop and.
I said a router, and these guys said a laptop, and I think Josh said a second laptop, or maybe the other way around.
Second laptop.
Yeah, gym stuff is probably more useful than a second laptop. If you had to eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Biryani.
And you don't have to care about health.
Biryani.
Nice.
You didn't even need time to answer that one. You knew straight away.
Video.
What is a book you think everyone should read? If it should be mandatory, what book would it be?
I think I'm not a good person to advise on that, but if you're going to ask me what should our new generation, the kids from schools age, they should have work, I would recommend anything related to technology or anything related to practical work, when they can involve themselves to learn something, to do some practical work. There are many things. For example, like one of my favorite book is Data Structures and Algorithm. You can find that book in a couple of variety of languages. You can find that into Java. You can find that into C++. You can find that into Python. So I would like to recommend people to get involved a bit into technology, because right now technology is on its boom, and this is the peak time someone can enter into this market. And even with if you're going to compare that with the salaries other people are earning, I think the IT guys are earning very good, and in this particular area they can have a very good career. So yeah.
Nice. And who are 3 people you'd have dinner with, dead or alive?
Who are 3 people I can have dinner with, dead or alive?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of friends. I would say like some very good friends. I think Cynthia used to be my very good friend when we was living in Budapest. So I can take her name. One of my friend is Saddam, for example. And I would say if I'm going to eliminate my friends, then definitely my parents, my mother and father, because I love them most. So yeah.
Amazing.
That's very nice.
Yeah. I
Great.
think that's been really informative and a good way to get to know you a tiny bit as a person. So before we get into any specific questions, why don't you tell us, how would you describe your job to a 10-year-old that does not know what software engineering is?
Okay, so for me, if I have to describe that, I would going to say this, that we as a people, or like if I'm going to talk about individual as a person, I'm helping companies, or I would say the big tech companies or the institutions, to provide them solution to make their life easier. As a person, I provide solution to finance department or investment banks or like individual institute to provide companies or I would say like the individual those solutions which they can use and they can improve their lifestyles, they can improve their investment, or they can securely store their digital assets, they can securely transform their digital assets. So it's all about providing solution to make your life easier in every place. When you go outside, you went to a mall, you went to a restaurant, technology is evolving everywhere. I can tell you, for example, if you visit my country, you can find a lot of McDonald's, but you're going to see that I'm just particularly targeting third world countries. So you're going to see that the technology is not that evolved as compared to European countries. If you have to order, you can do it online. You can go to the branch. There are machines. You can just put your order. In every aspect, in everything, if you go to back end, if you go to background, you can see there is a software which is running, which is providing you solution, which makes your life easier. So we IT people or we developers, we help those companies out to develop those features, to develop those things to make their life more easier.
And I just want to, because I remember you saying as a child you loved doing math and you loved sort of figuring out these complex algorithms, and it was something that you were good at. At what point did the technology aspect come into it for you? You know, was that at university? Was that in high school? Yeah.
That's a very good question. Honestly speaking, if I talk about my country, if you went there, if you start living there, you can see that the dream of our parents, this is a very sort of old tradition, that they want their child to be a doctor. First priority is a doctor, or they at least they want to see their child in electrical engineering or civil engineering. These are the, I would say, in their mentality, they want to see their child in those positions. I was a brilliant child when I was in college. I was getting good grades, but for medical, for to become a doctor, I still need to be on a very higher level of education, or like I should have 98% grades, which was not the case. I remember in my school, I used to have 89%, something like that, 89 to 90%. And when I was applying for university, the first time this was the new thing which introduced to me, my seniors and some of my relatives, they mentioned that there is a degree which is called bachelor's in computer science. Before that, I was good in mathematics, I was doing biology, but the computer science was introduced when I landed into university. And when I entered into my first semester, the first language which I learned, it was C++. And I figured out that language, when we solve code, we talk about compilers, how interpreters work, how you write for loops, how you write classes, objects, how you do recursion. It's quite related to math, or I would say like a person who loves math, he also start loving this programming concept. Mm-hmm. But the biggest interest which developed inside me, when I start working in game development, I start developing games. I was in second semester, and there was a platform that is called Unity 3D, and they have a free version which is called UDK, and I start developing first person shooter. And physically I was interacting with my own software, because the thing I like most is after developing I was playing those games. And that's how the concept of programming or my interest developed. Then I developed chat rooms using Swing frameworks of Java FX, and then I go beyond those limits, and I start working in robotics. I develop 4-wheel drive robots. I start working in AI during my university tenure. So eventually I start evolving into developing complex things, and that's how I was learning everything.
That's great.
And just if I can ask another question with regards to coding, how would you best describe the difference between all the languages? You mentioned C++, you mentioned Java, I know there's HTML. What was in a simple way, how would you describe the difference between these two languages?
Every language have its own use, and every language is important. It's time to time, the things are evolving, the things are improving. C++ and C, they are like the quite old languages. 90s, I would say they was like quite popular. And then Microsoft introduced another framework which is called .NET, and they improved a lot. They introduced a proper object-oriented scope in their languages, which was firstly introduced by Java in back in 1990, 91, 92. And Sun Microsystem was a company when they who was developing using Sir James Gosling, who was also considered as the father of Java. So things are evolving. Every language is important. Doesn't matter which you are learning and in which you are working. The important part is, I would say, if you are learning something, you should have good grip on that. You should know all of the aspects of that particular framework or language. And when you are appearing in an interview, you should answer all of the question which is being asked. So if I'm going to claim that, okay, I'm an experienced Java developer, or I'm working in Scala, then I have the interviewer going to have an expectation that he's going to ask me a lot of questions related to technology. And that is the point when you have to give your 100%. You have to prepare enough. You have to work so hard so that you can clearly represent yourself very well. So each of the languages is a bit different. So if we're going to go, if we're going deep dive into the details, I think there will be a long debate. Okay, how can I potentially put differences between all those languages? But with the career perspective, if you're expert in something, you can get a job. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And you mentioned like the first sort of maybe like experiences you had with coding was coding games. And so that's more of a hobby thing. Does that still happen to you, that you do coding for fun when you're at home, or do you now want a difference and have a break between your work life and your free time?
No, I think Cynthia can also answer this question very well. She knows me very well. I would say like I'm a coding freak. I love to solve algorithm. This is one of my habit. I solve algorithm for fun. There is a very popular website which is called Lead Code. So I'm almost a regular user of that website. So whenever I free, I do two things. Either I'm cooking or I'm doing algorithms. So these are two of my hobbies. Beside that, as I was mentioning, like for example, game development was quite physical because I can actually run which I develop and I can play around. So this was quite interactive for me. That's how I ended up with coding. And the concept of the game development, you have to learn a lot of concept which is related to physics, real-time physics, collision detection. You have to use some motion equation which was quite innovative. And when you see those effects of real-time physics with all those mathematical formula, at least for me, it was quite innovative and interactive toward learning. And nowadays, when I'm free, I usually try to solve algorithm. I usually try to build and work around data structures. And there is a particular reason for that, because if you want to be the part of one of the FANG companies, you have to be very smart in algorithms and data structure. You have to solve on daily basis. You need a lot of practice for that. And beside that, when I'm usually free during my weekend, I'm also a visiting faculty member of one of the institute named EVS, where I teach Android. I interact with students and professionals. So far, I have done 49 badges. Each batch usually have 15 to 40 students, depend upon the strength.
Wow.
And this is one of the best way to enhance your skill set. Imagine that you have like 40 people in your batch. It's a huge audience, and anyone can ask any question. It can be the part of the technology, it can outside from the technology, it can from the market. So you need to be upgrade yourself. So you have to do continuous study, continuous research, so that you can entertain those audience. So these are my main hobbies.
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned your teaching experience, because it was really my next question, that your background, your interest, your whole mindset is just what you would expect as a 100% programmer. But do you think that people that don't have this very straight path, can they in today's industry just join in at one point from another background? What do you see in your classrooms?
Yeah, first thing is like right now, a person who is 100% programmer, he cannot survive in industry. This is one of the things which I would like to highlight, because a developer right now is not only interacting with coding, he also responsible. If you are senior, you are also responsible to designing your solution. You have to work around system design. You have to provide automation for your feature, you have to work around in DevOps sectors, because the applications are now, right now at least, we are in an era where microservice architecture is quite popular. Your application is split into the small chunk of services which are communicating with each other asynchronously, providing a high resilience and fault tolerant solution. Let's talk about one of the example from FANG companies. Netflix is a company which is using a lot of microservices. So you have to tweak around in a lot of different area of IT, I would say. But those people those who have a different background, and I know a lot of success stories. In Morgan Stanley, I used to know a girl who she had done a business degree, something like that, and then she learned Java herself, and she was working in our development sector, I would say. So the thing is, you don't need a degree. Obviously, it's very important if you have a similar degree or similar experience. A lot of companies usually ask for a bachelor's degree in computer science or BS software engineering or BS IT, but it doesn't mean that is a thing where you're going to put a full stop. You can learn yourself. You can find everything on YouTube. You can find everything on Google. These are the current university. You guys doesn't need to worry about there will be some teacher or trainer who is going to train you. You can learn yourself. I even learned a lot of language myself. In my university, the practical work was there. The practical work was not so good there, so I have to do it myself. I have to learn myself, and anyone can do that. And eventually, the decision is going to make when you're appearing in an interview. And this is one of my thing which I always say, that if you apply for a position and company contact you for interview, consider that you are 50% hired. You're already 50% hired. The remaining 50% is your performance, which you are going to do in your interview. If you're going to perform well, then you have a job. So this is the great thing. Like a one-time step, you have. If they contacted you, you were 50% hired, and then you have to perform. And it's only depend upon you, how you prepared and how you practice your things, how much you study. So anyone can do that, even if you have a technical background or non-technical background. I was a biology student. My parent expectation was like I will be in medical, but I have done BScs, so it's possible.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned there that there's so much information on YouTube, and there's so much information on Google. But I feel like for me as a business student, or me even in high school, whenever I said, I had to go on Google for that answer, or I had to, YouTube that answer, there's always like a little bit of a stereotype, or you feel like somebody judges you for that. But I feel like in software engineering or web development or anything like that, I feel like Google really is, it's a place where there is knowledge that and there doesn't need to be any sort of stigma around it.
Yes.
It really is good at informing.
Yes, and the biggest thing is in IT we have the great documentation. The material is there. Everything is open source. So open source make our life easier. The only thing you need is self-motivation and a keen toward hard work. I would say development is not the easy thing. That's the first thing. If you are a developer, if you're a coder, it's not an easy thing. Maybe if you want to be in a small company during all of your career, or I would say you want to start your own own startup, or you want to be a part of a startup or like a small company, then it's fine. The amount of knowledge you require to enter in that particular company and to stay rest of your life, that's initial knowledge is fine for that. But if you want to move around, if you want to be the part of good companies, if you want to be the part of 100 Fortune companies, if you want to be the part of FANG companies, then you have to work around, you have to study, you have to learn new things. When I moved to Europe, honestly, I was not so well informed about the new tech stack which is being used by these big companies. I used to work in the companies back into Pakistan, and okay, I was good in Java, I was good in enterprise, I was developing application, but there are a lot of things which right now evolved. Event sourcing, event-driven architecture, CQRS, microservices, as I mentioned, CI/CD, the agile way of developing features, providing MVPs to clients. So a lot of things. And in these 2 years, I have learned a lot of things. I have to study on daily basis. Even current company, I'm working in Scala. I never been work in Scala before this company. This is my 6 month in this new company, and I have to learn that. I learned this. I learned new framework. I learned how to write code in Scala, and even I develop applications. So the thing is, you have to evolve every day. You have to study every day.
Speaking of moving around, I think your path is really interesting because you moved around, after a year or so at every company. Do you think that contributed to your learning path in a way, and also is that something that's, I guess, recommended for people working in IT, that you move around a lot?
Well, my recommendation for the guys who really want to be the part of IT and they want to work around, I would say, like, you have to keep yourself updated with the latest technology. IT is a known. I'm going to say, like, there is no full stop. If you enter into this field, imagine that you are a doctor. So you're studying medical. So you're an eye specialist. You know everything about eye, and that's it. There will be no new muscle which is going to be created by God, like in 100 years, I would say. But IT, every day there is a new thing. In Java, for example, the latest version they recently introduced was 17, and I have to study that. So if you want to be the part of IT, you have to be updated with technology. You have to study every day. But I can guarantee you can earn very good salary if you're talented, if you know your market value, if you know how to engage companies, how to get good offer, if you have good communication skills, which you will evolve, I'm pretty sure, with the passage of time. And even if you are hired in a low salary, I can assure you, like, you have to work hard for a year, and then you can earn double amount as compared to the salary you're getting right now. So the biggest advice is be practical, work hard, and just start reading what is evolving, what is new, what is current, what trend is IT is following recently. You have to be aware of new system design and technologies which are quite popular.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I had a question which is maybe less connected to IT. It's more about the transition from your life in Pakistan to the European life. How did you live that? How was it? Because it's huge, right?
Yeah. As I would say, like, this is one of the great experiences I ever had, because I was quite limited to my area. Imagine that I was living in Lahore. I spent my 25 years of life there. I'm 100% sure that my communication was not so good there. Obviously, because I have to speak in my own language. I was not in the interaction with multinational people. I did not knew about the multicultural environment. So when I moved to Hungary, especially Budapest, I think I was quite groomed as compared to before. I interact with different countries, people. I learn a new culture, first of all. So that's a great thing. And beside that, the biggest transition was, like, I become the part of multinational companies which owns more than 20,000 or 50,000 employees, and that's a different aura, I would say, or different mindset. I was introduced with a lot of processes which I think I was not able to learn back in my country, because the biggest company we had is not, they don't have more than 5,000 to 6,000 employees. So, and I always, this is one of the reason why I moved to Europe, that I always want to be the part of big companies. That's how I pursue my career. So yeah.
And are you satisfied? Because I assumed that when you were thinking about moving to big companies, you had some. You imagined it to be one way. How did it? Is it similar to that idea that you had of big companies, or was it different? How was it?
Honestly speaking, like, if you move to a big company, and you hear it right, like, for example, the way of work is quite different as compared to startups. I would say, like, if you are the part of startup, you have to work so hard. You are going to experience like, a lot of new things. You have to learn a lot of new things. There will be a bit of pressure on you, but that pressure teach you a lot of new technologies, or make you more intelligent as compared to the developers who are working in big companies. But on the other hand, when you are the part of big companies, your CV is very strong. Any company around the globe can hire you on a very good salary. So that these are the couple of benefits. And the environment in big stable companies are quite different than startup. You have more benefits, you have good salaries, the sitting environment is very good, the kitchen benefits, or all sort of benefits, I would say. Like even this is a very lame thing, but really I'm going to say that even the building itself quite fascinate me when I'm going to choose a company. So if they have a good office, go on the good location, the big office, it really fascinates me. It really, I really like to be the part of those places. So yeah, there are some pros and cons, and it totally depends. There are a lot of developers who don't want to be the part of these complex and big processes, so they try to avoid big companies. They usually stay in the startups because they know that they are going to write code and they have to deliver that. So it's just a quite pretty straightforward. But in the big companies, you have to follow a lot of processes. You have to go through a lot of code reviews. You have to taking care of a lot of standards. You cannot just write something and that will be on the production. You know what happened recently on Facebook when it went down? There will be some production issue. So yeah.
Aqib, walk us through a day in your life. You know, especially now that you're in where you Rotterdam or Rotterdam. Yeah, just walk us through a day in your life.
I'm pretty sure you're going to ask about my routine, daily basis.
Yeah.
So it's not so exciting, obviously. Maybe you guys are expecting that I'm going to say on every day I'm going to do a party or something like that. Not like that. I usually wake up around 8 a.m. My first meeting, which we call daily scrum, it's usually around 9:15. Every day I have a lot of tasks to do. I have to write a lot of code. Around 6 or 7, I finish my job. Then I try to spend 1.5 hours into gym, and late evening, sometime I'm cooking, sometime I'm solving algorithm, as I mentioned before. Or when I am so depressed, I try to cook biryani or korma, and then I eat it well. So this is my daily based routine. But right now I'm because I used to have a milestone which I want to achieve, and recently I achieved it. And now I would like to explore Europe. 2 weeks before I went to Belgium, Brussels with my friends. I have planned to visit Germany one more time. I already did 2 years back, and Barcelona as well. So yeah, I'm just coming back to my normal life, trying to.
That's amazing.
and how, because you know from what I've heard, it's software engineering is a very mentally taxing job. You know, you said you have a lot of code to review every day and all of that. So how important do you think it is for yourself or for others that are looking to get into this job to try and keep that work-life balance healthy for them, or to do things like go and travel, you know?
Yeah. Seriously, Europe is the best place. If you're working here, you're going to have work-life balance. This is not the case in USA, I would say, or maybe Pakistan. Not for all companies, but yeah, most of the companies. Late sitting is a norm there. Even in India, I know that the life of an IT developer is not so easy. So Europe is the best place. You're going to finish your work around 6, and then you can do whatever you want. But you are right. It's a bit, development is not for everyone. And I remember Cynthia also mentioned that if someone don't want to be the part of development, what are other areas where they can go? I mean, in like keeping in mind that they will be still in the IT or software engineering scope. You can be a QA, for example. It also involves a bit of coding using automation. You can be a DevOps guy, those guys who are taking care of infrastructure. You can be a project manager, technical project manager, product owner. These are, or you can be, I think, if you have a very good English, like Cynthia, then you can be a Scrum Master. So there are like a lot of areas So only development is not the part of IT. But yeah, development is a bit hectic. It's all about your brain. You have to think about design. You have to develop. Usually, maybe in other jobs there is a little bit physical work, but in IT, no, there is no physical work. It's all about your mind and your hands. That's why it's good if you are if you're going to be in development, or you are planning to be a developer. It's good that you have a gym. You have some physical exercise, which is good for your healthy mind.
Is there anything that you would change about your job? And I don't mean your current position, just overall, in your field. If you could change anything, is there anything that you'd like to?
Honestly, no, because this is the main thing which I always mention during my interviews, and companies also sometimes they also try to offer me for a very senior role like technical lead and management, where they expect me to only design and help my colleagues or team members to develop those things. So I will be always a developer. That's another thing that I will be on L3, L4, or principal engineer. That's a separate discussion. But I think if I have to leave coding, if I have to stop writing code, then I think maybe I will leave that field. I will be not a part of software houses anymore, because that's the only thing I came here.
Interesting. And this may be a little bit of a stretch asking this question, but when you go onto like Google, you try to self-diagnose yourself, you're feeling a little bit sick, and you go and you read symptoms, and you're like, yes, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. Okay, I must be this kind of sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you had to sort of replace the sickness with software engineering, what do you think the symptoms are of somebody who has what it takes to be a software engineer, or what characteristics do they show that sort of display the software engineer protege?
I get it. Yeah, actually, software development or software engineering is a very vast field. It's not like you can put that into a seashell, I would say. There are a lot of attributes. It's depend on which department you are working. When you are in a university, when you're doing your bachelor's, you or every student, I would say, like it was me when I was doing that, I'm going to think, okay, these 36 or 40 books which I'm reading in my 4 years, in my 8 semesters, I'm going to use all of these knowledge into market. That's not the real case. So if you are a developer, then you have different characteristics. If you are a QA, you have different characteristics. So just let's talk about the development. So if you're asking me that which attribute I see as a good developer or a leader, because some fan companies call them a leader, that they should have these behavioral attributes, and there are a couple of those. For example, for the first one, I would say like the customer obsession. As a developer or a leader, when the company hire you, they expect you that with your impact there will be a lot of customers, so that companies can earn. Or if you have your own startup, you would like to have a lot of customers. So when a developer have this attitude toward customer obsession, they try to value their customer, their need. They try to propose solution to customer. They try to develop on priority basis what their customer need. So this is one of the attribute, I would say. Invent and simplify. This is one of another attribute, and it's also the part of Amazon leadership principle, that you should be innovative and you should provide simplest solution. You should have deep knowledge of what you are doing. You should be confident and take ownership of what you are doing. So when you propose something, you know all of the pits and fall of this solution. You know how to develop it, and you know how to represent it in the best way. And there can be many more. From technical perspective, I would say like you should work so hard that I think you can stand out yourself in all among the Java or C++ developer around the world. I know that's not possible, obviously, because there are a lot of smart people, but at least you can try.
So if you had to name a couple of things that you think that are misconceptions about your job, or that you wish people would know, especially those that don't come from your background.
Well, I was when I was doing BScs and when I landed into development field, most of the feedback which I got from people that developers usually have the highest divorce ratio in the world. They cannot maintain their family with the work. They are crazy people. I think this is a misconception. Obviously, it's not true. I I I keep out like valuable time during my day to talk with my parents, with my siblings. I would say like um, everyone can manage thing properly. This is a bit of stressful job. That's true. That's 100% true. But the people can manage work and life balance. Second thing is the biggest misconception is programming is very difficult. It's not for us. Most of my class fellows, I remember my batch, and they are like, okay, we have done BScs, but we want to be in maybe QA or some easy thing where there is less programming involved. And especially I think there was another misconception which is a part of that one, that girls are not in the development, they are not good developers. That's totally wrong. I have worked with some of the smartest girl in development, and they was doing great. I can see a lot of my class fellows, female class fellows, and they are mostly in QA, but they can also do development, they can also do automation. That's not a thing only for male. That's another misconception, that in IT department or companies you're going to see more males as compared to female. It's depend upon the company. I remember I used to work in I2C where there was more females as compared to male, but again saying it's totally depend upon the companies. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously, so IT as a field is one that evolves very fast, right? You talked about how you have to keep up to date, like almost on a daily basis. What do you think are the difference what's required from person that works in IT now compared to, let's say, 20 years ago? How do you think the need evolved?
Well, technology is quite improvised, and it's improving fast on daily basis. The people who was working like 10, 20 years before, 30 years before, usually the model of the application was monolithic. Let me define that term. What does that mean? Monolithic means like a person or software should be on a screen which may be shared inside an organization with some common servers, and they try to improve their performance by adding more servers or more RAM or increasing more performance into the physical device. Now everything is moved to cloud. You know that there are a lot of infrastructure services, cloud services. For example, Google Cloud, AWS, Amazon Web Services. So everything is now shifting toward that, and our application are also split it into more improvised solution. For example, like service oriented, which is also very old, but now let's talk about the most recent one, the most popular one, are microservices. So the thing companies trying to do is to provide highly scalable, which we also call horizontal scalable solution, with a manner which we call fault tolerance. So thing is, if they are developing a feature, they don't want to make their running application down or to have an impact on the current existing product. And the client base are so evolved. You can imagine that the Facebook 20 years back or 30 years back, and the current version of Facebook, and the amount of people who are using Facebook. So they started with a university project, and how it evolved around the globe. So when your client base is improving, when your client base is increasing, so you have to change the architecture. And that old developer, 20 years back, the way of their thinking and the way of their developing is quite changed as compared to the new developers or modern era technology. Technology is improved, architecture, the way of development is changed, the way of deployment is changed, the infrastructure is changed, location infrastructure using your cloud mechanism. So everything is changed, and all of the products and the companies trying to give the best solution, more fault tolerant solution, resilient solution, and a solution which client can use without waiting, and their application is loading and they are waiting like this. It's not going to happen anymore.
And to sort of piggyback off that question, you were at university from 2012 to 2015.
2013 to
2015.
2015, end of 2015. Yes.
Okay, and as you said, software engineering in general or developing has changed so much since then. My question for you is, how much of what you learned at university do you still use today?
Uh, I think university is a place which give you a push toward the very basic level of development. It give you the base of your future exposure. It can provide a basic knowledge so that you become comfortable with what is going to happen in next 5 or 6 years. But the real environment, the real market is totally different as compared to university. In university, your mindset or your mentality is revolving around a mobile application which is being connected with your laptop or server. It's very basic level, and you are exploring things. You are trying to learn the basic SDK level things. You're like trying to learn the basic framework. You try to learn the basic technology. For example, if I talk about the language itself, so we have language, we have basics of language. You should know that how your code is compiling, what is the background architecture of a particular language. If I talk about Java, when I was in university, I learned object-oriented programming. That's a very basic concept. I learned socket programming. That's also a very basic thing. I learned how to deal with multi-threading, how to work around socket implementations, how to write, maybe, or if I go more basic, to write for loop, if statement, switch statement, how to define your functional interfaces. So that's the basic architecture which I learned. When I moved to market, I start working in enterprise application. That's a very different thing. So the area becomes so vast that I have to learn latest framework which is being used by market. I learned cloud framework, I learned microservices framework, I learned Spring framework. So the thing was quite improvised as compared to your university. So area of scope, I would say, is very concise as compared to market.
And where do you see yourself or the industry moving in? Let's say next 10, 15, 20 years, if you really want to look in the future.
That's a long span. I usually plan my 2 or 3 years. That's my bad habit or good habit, I don't know. But I try to be to concise this span so that I work hard and I achieve my goal quicker. My recent goal is to be the part of one of the FANG company, which I'm in the process, and I will inform you guys soon, definitely.
Please do.
So, and as soon as I achieve my this goal, that which I was trying from last 2 years, then maybe I will going to write one of my own product, and maybe I will going to do some business on with keeping my job with me. So that's because that's the whole story. I started my career, I was in market, and I want to be the part of big companies, and then I want to be the part of FANG companies, and that's it. so or if I'm going to switch again after 2 years or 3 years, maybe it's from one FANG to another FANG. So that's
and this may be a bit of an ironic question to ask, given that we are in the boom of development. You know, we are literally at the birth of development and everything. Can you see any restrictions or any limitations of software engineering in the future?
No, definitely not. At least for next 70 or 80 years. I mean, I read a lot of articles. There are a lot of debate that AI is evolving a lot, and maybe they are going to design those systems which are going to automate your code and going to provide you a solution. But you cannot replace a human brain. That's a big debate. I think Jack Ma and there is another who's the owner of Tesla. I forget his name. Elon. Yeah, they already have a big debate on YouTube. Elon Musk trying to protect AI, trying to define that AI is best, and we are going to do this in future. There will be no need of human. You cannot replace human brain. It's impossible. So I can see still I can see the potential of that field. It will going to evolve. It will going to increase. It will going to improve, and there will be a lot of demand. Right now, in 2021 till 2022. A lot of hiring happening. Facebook is hiring a lot of people. Amazon is hiring a lot of. Google is hiring a lot of people. I remember I was when I was when I was in Budapest, when the COVID situation happened, there was a slightly, there was few months that slightly, I would say, delay in hiring processes. Companies usually stopped, but right now it's on its boom. I can see a lot of people coming directly from Pakistan and India to Netherlands. So you're not. I mean, this is my assumption that it is not going to happen in next 100 years, but I don't know what is going to happen after 100 years. Let's see.
And as a little bit of a reflection, I guess, what is your favorite memory from your job or from your career path, if you have one?
If I'm going to talk about the most recent one, is one of my biggest goal which I achieved. I remember when I called my parents, my mother started crying because she know that I was trying for almost 2.5 years. I've been rejected by them from like 6 times, and this was my 7th attempt. So it was one of the great achievement and one of the greatest memory, because I can see my mother, she had tears in her eyes. And there was another greatest memory, I would say, back in 2018. I was trying to do one of Java certification, Oracle Certified Associate, and I was preparing for that certification since last 1 year. And the biggest thing which makes me so happy, that I got 100% marks in that certification. So that was the that was the most memorable, I would say, moment. It's all related to my career, I would say. The personal moments are different, so obviously, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe another question to reflect. Obviously, I mean, you're very successful, and it's very great to hear about all of those different achievements that you've done. If you had to attribute this to one characteristic in you, which one would it be? Hardworking. Yeah.
So that's if you're going to ask me two, then it will be hardworking and consistency. But the first is hardworking. I think everyone can achieve anything with this hardworking attribute or hardworking behavior. I know a lot of people, and most of the time, like I see guys who are quite intelligent, but the thing is, if they are not hardworking, somehow there will be a gap. So for me, hardworking is one of the key attribute to achieve anything.
Thank you.
It goes back to that whole hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. I don't know. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but and I'm sure it's something that we'll see across many success stories. It's hard work. Even in the short time that I've spoken to successful people or anything like that, that's the first thing they always say, and they almost say, as you said it, without a skip of a beat. They said hardworking and. Yeah, I think especially.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I think especially in software engineering, I mean, as we've heard, if we've taken away anything from this, it's you've just got to stay on it. You've just got to stay on it. Keep educating yourself. With programming, it's something you have to love to learn.
You can stay at one place. You can work there, or maybe you can move around different companies. But if you have a big dream, if you want to achieve something, then you have to work hard. That's it. I mean, if I'm going to plan to start my own product, I have to work hard to make it popular, to get clients, to evolve it around the globe. So you can achieve anything in the world just with the consistency and hard work.
Yeah. Aqib, if you decide to do that, you've got 3 business students on board, all right?
Definitely.
All right.
Is there just one of the last questions? Was there ever a moment where you said, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe what if I'm so interested in this? Was there ever a moment where you wanted to change careers?
If I will going to evolve in future, or I think I was being offered, or it's never happened in our field that someone is going to force me to do something which I don't want to do. But it's happened with me. For example, like during my career, sometime because of my skill set, because of my delivery, they try to use me with more likely management task or infrastructure task, or I would say team management thing. I love to be the part of team management. That's not a problem. But if I'm not getting enough development, if I'm not getting enough designing, then this is not for me, and I will definitely change my career. Usually when a person have more than 5 years of experience or 8 years of experience, they usually, I think, like 50% of developer, they're trying to be the part of management. They want to write less code because it's so stressful, and you're writing code from 5 or 6 years. My half of my hairs are already white. I don't know if you guys can see that. But this is the thing which I want to do. I like to write code. I like to solve complex, and I think I really love, or I really enjoy, when I have pressure of developing something and I know that I have to take care of billions of clients who are going to use our product. This pressure I start enjoying. I don't know why, but this is the thing which I like.
So Edmond, will you do us the honors and ask Aqib our last question?
So the last question is, it's more of a maybe motivational one. If you had to give advice to your 20-year-old self, what would that piece of advice be?
My advice is to the young people is, you guys have potential. You are young, so try to optimize that potential into studies, into knowledge gathering. Just do less parties. So because that's the time of building your career. You can do parties later. Yeah, and so the thing is, like, this is the right time, this is the right age, because you have time, you have potential. Maybe the things are not same when you will be 29, 30 or 35. I hope so. It will be it will be same for me, but let's see. So just do hard work, focus on your studies. I would say, if you want to build something, if you want to build your own career, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to start your own thing, just start working on that. You can relax yourself, you can do exercise, physical activities, but I think, for young generation, this is the big thing, that they have to focus on their studies. They have to do it gracefully. That's one of the thing.
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I like that.
Definitely, Edmond.
Yeah, well,
Definitely.
yeah.
Gracefully. Most importantly, gracefully.
Yeah.
So thank you so very much for your time. We know that it's been a very stressful week for you, and we do wait that you keep in touch with us and let us know about your next goal. And we are 100% sure that you will achieve whatever you set your mind out to. So
Yeah, it's been very nice speaking
Thanks.
to you, and thank you coming on.
and
Thank
incredibly
you for
helpful.
coming on. Yeah.
Yeah, and super inspirational. It's great to talk to you. It was really a great experience,
Yeah.
especially for our first podcast.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that it was with you. You're such a, I don't know, happy and positive person,
Thank you
but
so much.
also very goal driven. It was really great.
Yes, and thank you for translating all of the IT terms to
Yeah.
just a regular human language.
It's a great experience, and I really enjoy here. I mean, you guys are amazing, and you're doing great work. So yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Aqib, and we'll hope to keep in touch.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Take it easy.
Bye bye.
Aqib.
Thank you.
See
Bye.
ya.
Thank you,
Aqib.
bye.
Bye bye.
So yeah, hi guys. Okay, wait, no, I'll do that again. So welcome back, guys. We just had to switch cameras because our camera ran out of battery, but that's not really important. What's important
What is important
is how
First
cool it was.
First episode. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was so
Everything's
great.
been very informative with Aqib. Yeah.
You went very better than I could have ever expected it to, honestly. And what a nice guy. What
Yeah.
a
What a
nice guy.
great guy.
That's
What a
one of the
nice
things
guy.
I wanted to talk about in this little reflection section, that I think my misconception was always before I met Aqib, because as he mentioned on the podcast, we were really good friends, and when I lived in Hungary, I always imagined like developers and IT people to just sort of like be in their own bubble, and
Yeah.
and when he mentioned like customer centricity and how he had to be a great communicator and just generally get along with people, it just really shed a different light on their position for me.
Yeah.
I think I'm guilty of that stereotype or misconception as well. You know, you think of software engineers and you think of the guys that are sort of to themselves and don't really like to get out. But I mean, there's an example of the polar opposite. You know, he's so personable and so good at communicating, and you know, it's definitely no surprise he's gotten as far as he has in his career. But I think the biggest takeaway for me from that was you just really can't get complacent. If you want to be a good software engineer, if you want to be a successful software engineer, you have to stay learning, and you know, sounds like there's an element of loving to learn, and so
Absolutely.
I think there's some other jobs where you get away with acquiring a skill set and then just applying it very well. I think this is a skill set where you need to keep updating, as you said, keep updating, keep learning, all of that. So
that's what I was thinking about in the back of my mind while he was talking about this. I don't know if this is a positive or a negative thing, because it does sound like a lot of work, a lot of challenge, a big challenge, a constant pressure. But on the other hand, as you said, in some cases you can get away with not learning, and then you're not pushing yourself and you're not transforming yourself, and so I think it's just an interesting thing to think about in the future.
But I mean, I guess it's different personalities. I for one know for a fact I could not do that. Like, imagine going back home like any solving like was it equation? No, yeah, algorithms. Like, whoa, like,
he loves it.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, like, incredible, and it's great, but it's just a crazy life, and it's beautiful to have that desire to learn constantly, right? Like, every single day learning about the new things that came out and the new things that you like need to become a better software engineer. It's just so much.
Yeah, but he seems like that he's just an epitome of what you think about when you say that, well, you don't feel like you're working when you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like for a second that it felt overwhelming for him, even though it's stressful and half of his hairs are white, according to him.
His hair is great, though.
Yeah, I know.
Objectively, he's got great hair. I'm kind of jealous. He's not going to be bald in 3 years.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna say.
Sorry about that.
No. I'm gonna find it again. It was
Well, I'll have something to say if you can't find it.
Say it.
Yeah, like I think just the fact that when he goes home, he solves our algorithms shows that, like, he just loves it so much, right?
Yeah.
And then you're right, it's not a job. When that's what you come home and do, you're not doing a job. You're just I don't know, doing something you love for a living,
and paid well, which is another thing I wanted to talk about in what was very interesting for me and I reflect upon is a lot of times we hear that if you think about your job just in terms of a number, that it's a negative thing, and he's mentioned how well IT people get paid at least 3-4 times, but that does not mean that he doesn't love his job. And a lot of times I think we think about this as like mutually exclusive. Like you shouldn't think about how well you're gonna get paid if you really want to do this. And at one point when he told me that I have genuine interest in technology, but equally genuine interest in getting paid well.
Yeah.
And I think we need to normalize that mindset.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing about software engineering is that it's because it's in the growth stage, or it's in the boom phase right now, it's so much easier to see how what you're doing is transforms into the real world. It's so applicable in so many different situations, and because it's booming right now, there's almost more of a motivation, or it looks like there's more of a motivation for him to stay up to date. So not only for himself but also for the companies that he's working for, and it's I think it's one of the, and I love the fact that we did software engineering as our first episode, because it is one of those things that is just going to become more and more popular, and you can guarantee that it's going to be integrated into school systems more, and
it should be.
And it should be
100%. It should be, and from that I think we're just gonna. I think, as you said, for the next 70 to 80 years, he doesn't see a change.
Because we were talking about that like a bit before the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Of I didn't think that question was relevant, but it really was. I think to that, like obviously he's so knowledgeable about all of it, and like for him in the next 100 years, he said we'll see, which we probably won't.
Yeah.
But it'd be super interesting. I'd love to see the point, like what point in human history or future like at what point in the human future are we going to be able to automate all of that, and what is life going to look like when we have an AI that does all of those things? And if AI can do this, then how much what do we do?
Left?
What's left? What do you do? You have a job anymore, or are you just
Yeah.
I don't know, living life, eating, and like doing hobbies only.
Yeah.
You know, what jobs are left once a software developer becomes
On
just
a,
automated?
on a less philosophical note, I think it's very interesting that his perspective also included that it's not only IT jobs, but then technical project management, and then project leads and product owners, and those jobs, due to the boom of the tech industry, are also booming, and there's more and more need of that. So yeah, I really enjoyed speaking to him.
He was so cool.
Yeah, it's a very
Like,
nice.
yeah, a huge misconception. Like, you already talked about it, but I didn't, so I just. But yeah, like that's just not what I imagined at all.
And
He's so cool.
Yeah, and when he was talking about the fact that in schools, some technical knowledge should at least be included, and he's very right about that. It's just such a different way of thinking, that the very minimal coding or mathematical background that we have, I think that it helps my thinking and my mind just be a bit more structured.
So here's a question. Here's a question to both of you. If you had the programming gene in you, whether or not that exists, if you had the programming gene in you and you're 18 years old, do you go to university or do you not go to university?
It depends. For me, it depends on my connections. Like if I had a person like Aqib around me when I was 18 and I was interested in there, I would have him mentor me before I'd even go to university. Just partially due to the fact of what he was saying about how it may not be exactly as relevant, and it's just a very basic knowledge that you could acquire on your own. But my question, I guess, is, do you have the will and the self motivation at 18 or the discipline to teach yourself those things from the internet?
Well, I mean, if you have the gene,
we're
then
saying,
you
we're
have
saying if you have a programming gene.
Yeah, and according to him, the programming gene is
solving algorithms at home.
Yeah, right. Like having that hard work mentality. So I guess you do like want to learn more, and you do spend time every day. But yeah, I don't know. Would I go to university? How good of a gene is it? Is it like a sort of good gene or like incredible like coding sort of gene?
You decide.
Oh,
you
then
decide.
like,
do you go to university? Do you not go to university? There's no questions after the question.
No, I don't think I would.
Would you, Josh?
I don't think it was going to be spun on me, to be honest. I thought I was just going to get away with asking a question.
No. Never.
I would because I'm part of a family that values having a degree and that puts emphasis on getting a degree, and I think just to keep the equilibrium in the household or across the family pretty okay.
Just ready to like throw 3 years.
Yeah, but you know what? That being said, I know if my parents saw me put in the work, that kind of work, Aqib's kind of work, and they saw me have that kind of work ethic, and I knew they'd get. I know they'd get behind it.
Yeah, you have a very supportive family.
100%.
No, from that perspective, 100%. I always knew, like, I cannot die without having a degree. That's always just something that I knew. Like, there's one thing I have to get done. Yeah. If there's one thing I have to get done in life before I die, it's just get my degree. I'd like to take it all the way to my PhD, but that may not happen. But yeah, from that perspective, for sure. Just to get hired, I wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Can we sum it up there?
Yeah.
Conclude it there?
Yeah.
That was our conclusion.
First episode.
I'm very happy about how it went. Very happy.
And I look forward to the next one. And yeah, I think it's so easy when you have somebody like that,
and it's just,
we're very comfortable with each other, and I think
it was just so conversational. I just felt like I was at like a bar or something with a friend, just asking him questions. Yeah, just chatting. It was really cool.
I mean, that's what we said we were going for.
So but like obviously there's a difference between what you say and what happens, and in this case it was just all the best things I could have hoped for just happened to be there. It was such a positive person, outgoing person. It was just amazing, and it's so satisfying to see all of this come to life in front of us.
Yeah, it's the start of something very, very exciting.
Super exciting. Yeah.
Very excited,
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah.
We don't
This
have a
was-
sign off, huh? Do we need to come
that's
up with
what
a
I'm
sign-off?
saying. That's what I'm saying. Then me.
We, like,
Yo,
have a-
guys, like the page, like the
share the.
like the ting, share ting, subscribe to the ting.
So
Boom.
I don't know how I feel about that.
we
No,
definitely have to
definitely
cut
not.
that.
Um,
So
I'm not cutting
this
that.
was this was episode 1 with Aqib. Thank you for joining us, and stay updated. We'll be coming out with
Subscribe.
our
And share our
definitely.
content because we're just
Subscribe,
starting,
share.
and it'd really help if you shared our content.
And we're coming out with the next episode in 15 days. So stay tuned.
If I do the editing on time. But it's gonna happen. And yeah, if you know someone that you think is interesting and like would be great on the podcast, just tell us. You know, like
We'd love to have them on.
yeah,
Thank you
it'd be
for
great.
watching.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. See you. Pew, pew.
The pew pew is still on there.
Of course, the pew pew's staying on there.